Hey guys!
I'm Abby.
And I'm Shauna, and we're the host of a podcast called Anxious and Afraid.
Do you love deep dives into true crime?
The paranormal?
Strange history?
Conspiracies? Well, so do we, and each week we take turns surprising each other with whatever anxiety-inducing subject we are obsessed with that week.
Tune in each week to hear Shauna mispronounce words.
The guys on the lookout apparently asked for binoculars. Did I say that right?
So the photos showed him and his colleague entertaining... Wait, am I saying it wrong? Yes. And listen in as Abby constantly asks too many questions.
I was about to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm glad that you interrupted me. Continue.
I would have told you to shut up.
I don't know.
I don't know what
Stop
I'm trying
quizzing
to
me.
do.
Okay, you know, I did enough research. Let me just tell the damn story.
Jesus. Continue. Episodes drop every Tuesday, available wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also find us at our website, anxiousandafraid.com.
We're always looking for new friends, so don't forget to rate and subscribe.
True Consequences is a proud member of the Borellis Podcasters Guild.
The Oracle Network. Look deeper.
True Consequences is a true crime and mystery podcast with stories based in New Mexico and the American Desert Southwest. I'm your host, Eric Carter-Landin. This episode deals with discussion of child abduction, child sexual abuse, physical child abuse, and murder. It may not be appropriate for younger or sensitive audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of True Consequences. I'm your host, Eric Carter-Landin. Today we're continuing to look at the very frustrating and difficult case of Robbie Romero. This case has been baffling investigators and family for the last 20 years. And when we last spoke, we talked about the various leads that police investigated, including the fact that police zeroed in on Robbie's brother Ronnie early in the investigation. We discussed the fact that several psychics came forward and were leading the police in a variety of different paths, which ultimately led to nowhere. This created frustration on the part of the family as well as the community at large. So let's pick up where we left off. Last time we talked, we looked at some of the leads the police followed up on. I want to continue looking at some of these because there's so many different leads that came in. I think that it's important to know all the different directions that the investigation went, and I'm hopeful that maybe somebody listening to this will have additional information and will want to come forward. So here's an interesting note that was made by the police while visiting a suspicious residence. Quote, on 6/11/2000 at approximately 8 p.m., myself and Officer Rice went to an address on the Old Santa Fe Trail to conduct a follow-up on a suspicious residence. The residence was reported by an anonymous source. Upon arriving, as we approached the front door of the residence, an inside hallway light was turned off. There was an open rear door on the southeast corner of the home. We also noticed a strange odor by the Ford pickup truck in the parking area. No other information at this time. End quote. A man called Crime Stoppers to report that he saw an older man at a grocery store in Las Vegas, New Mexico with a boy that looked remarkably like Robbie Romero. He didn't know the man or what the man was driving, but he claimed that the man kept kissing the boy on the face and stomach and saying, "Grandpa loves you," which he felt was very strange. No further action was taken on this tip. On June 12th, police located a sock that was brought to the evidence lab and tested for blood. The sock looked soiled, there were stains all over it, but there was one particular stain that stood out to police. It was oval-shaped, reddish-brown, and it was just above the ankle area of the sock. Chemical testing was conducted to check for the presence of blood, and the result was positive. 3 other soiled areas were tested, but did not come back with a positive result for the presence of blood. Police also noted that the staining seemed to have come from the inside of the sock, which led them to believe that the person who was wearing it had injured themselves. The item was packaged and sealed in evidence, waiting for further analysis. On June 12th, 2 detectives were assigned to do an air search in the state police helicopter. They started about 9:30 p.m., and they searched a pretty large area from I-25 to St. Francis Drive to the old Agua Fria Road, following the road down to the railroad tracks, and they searched for about an hour and a half, but they didn't find anything. They even used heat-sensing equipment, as well as spotlights, where they finally got back to the airport at about 11:20 p.m., but they had not really uncovered anything during that search. On June 13, 2000, Ronnie Romero was administered a polygraph exam, which he failed. Again on June 13th, police were at the Santa Fe County Detention Center, and they were looking into files on Ronnie Romero and Rudy Romero Sr. They were checking to see if either of them had been incarcerated and if any threats were made to their lives. It turns out that Ronnie had been in jail from April of 2000 until June, when he was released on June 6th. While Ronnie was in jail, he was placed in pod C600, but someone found out that he was once a jail guard. They started causing trouble for him. Ronnie asked to be moved. He never told the supervisor on duty who was harassing him. Ronnie was eventually moved. He was told that if he couldn't make it there, he would be placed in protective custody. On June 4, 2000, at about 9:48 p.m., he complained to his supervisor that he was being harassed, so at this time he was placed into involuntary administrative segregation until his release on June 6th. Police then sought Ronnie's contact records from when he was incarcerated. Here's a quote from the official police report. On Thursday, June 15th, 2000, I was told to go back to detention center to obtain copies of a visitor log, phone log, and cellmate log on Ronnie Romero. I made contact with Major Anthony Romero, no relation to Ronnie, of Cornell Corrections. Major Romero stated that he could only provide me with copies of the visitor log, since they do not track the phone calls unless they are asked to do so. Also, they have no way to check who was his cellmate. The visitor log showed that Ronnie was visited by his mother Evelyn Romero on Sunday, May 7th, again on Sunday, May 21st, and on Sunday, May 28th, he was visited by both his mother and father. Ronnie was last visited by his mother on Sunday, June 4th, 2 days before he was released. End quote. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, more unsubstantiated tips kept coming in. For example, on June 16th, at about 1 p.m., several officers went to a home on Camino del Bosque. Information had been received that the boy might be held there against his will inside the home. Consent to search the home was given, and the search for the child was conducted. Bloodhounds were brought in from the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department, but there was no evidence of the boy ever being in that residence. Bloodhounds never picked up his scent. But police still continued to follow and watch Ronnie. On July 7th at about 4:10 p.m., there was an undercover special assignment for the Robbie Romero case. 2 police officers met at a restaurant to observe Ronnie while he was having dinner with a family member. So the 2 officers arrived at approximately 4:40 p.m. They were seated at a corner table on the north side of the restaurant, and they waited for the 2 to arrive. However, nothing happened in this dinner, and nothing was disclosed. In continuing to observe Ronnie, police followed him to a suspected drug dealer's house. And I'm going to read some of the quotes from this interaction. Quote, on July 7, 2000, while investigating the disappearance of 7-year-old Robbie Romero of Santa Fe, a surveillance team assigned to follow Ronnie Romero, the brother of Robbie, observed him going into a home on Calle Ensenada. Information had been received from reliable and confidential sources that who resides at that address was selling various amounts of cocaine from the residence. Ronnie Romero was observed in a 1997 Mercury bearing New Mexico license plates. The car drove up to the residence. Ronnie exited the passenger side and entered the residence. Ronnie was in the residence 2 to 5 minutes before he was observed exiting and then leaving in the above noted car. Surveillance of the residence was conducted further, at which time several individuals were observed driving up to the residence, enter, and stay for a short time and then leave. On July 8, 2000, in an effort to further the investigation, I proceeded to the above-mentioned address. Upon arriving, I approached the door and observed a male subject exiting the residence. The subject was observed carrying in his right hand a silver-colored spoon which contained a liquid substance. Through my training and experience as a former narcotics officer, I suspected the liquid substance to be cocaine. Before I identified myself as a police officer, I asked him if Furby was home. He stated, "Do you mean Fabby?" At which time I agreed. He stated that Fabi was inside. I then asked him if Fabi had any, referring to the spoon. The man then said yes and placed the spoon on the floor of his vehicle, which was parked in the driveway. I was then directed to the front entrance with the man who went inside and got Fabi. I then identified myself as a Santa Fe police officer after speaking with Fabi briefly. While speaking with Fabi, I informed him of my observations with the man and what he told me. I then advised Fabi that I was investigating the disappearance of Robbie Romero. I further advised him that if he cooperated with our investigation, I would just refer this case to the office of the district attorney and he would not be arrested at this time. Fabi then stated he wanted to cooperate and stated that there was more cocaine in the residence. The Santa Fe Police consent to search form was present, explained and signed by this individual. A Santa Fe Police waiver of rights form was also presented, explained and signed by him as well. During the course of the investigation, a woman who was present at the residence was contacted, and another detective located on her person a small plastic bag containing approximately 0.3 grams of suspected cocaine. Detective Johnson also located a small black canvas Adidas bag with a pager clipped to it on the couch. Inside the bag was a larger plastic bag which contained approximately 12 grams suspected of cocaine. Packaging material consisting of 34 individual plastic bags were located inside a purse belonging to the woman. 6 empty vials with cocaine residue, silver spoon with cocaine residue, 5 crack cocaine pipes, 1 multicolored marijuana smoking pipe, Carmex container containing baking soda was also located in the purse. The 2 individuals were placed into custody. One was charged with trafficking a controlled substance, and the man was charged with possession of controlled substance. Police also confiscated money, drugs, and weapons from the home. Fabi was not charged because of his cooperation in the investigation of Robbie's disappearance. Police also continued looking into Ronnie Romero. So on July 18th at approximately 11:30 a.m., police were conducting surveillance on Ronnie and his girlfriend. Ronnie's girlfriend picked him up at his home, and at this time, police started to follow them. His girlfriend was driving a maroon Toyota Corolla with a New Mexico license plate, and as she and Romero left the residence, they turned down the road and immediately they realized that the police were following them. So, his girlfriend decided to start practicing evasive maneuvers, turning really quickly on random roads. She even reached speeds up to 50 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour zone. The entire time she's trying to lose the police, they never lose track of her. She even cut across several lanes of traffic without using a turn signal and cutting off other vehicles. The police continued to follow her all the way downtown, but she still continued driving erratically, cutting off drivers, making random turns without turn signals, and even drove the wrong way down a one-way street. She finally parked her vehicle in a parking lot close to the Capitol building. She and Romero both attended a rally for Robbie Romero. The rally lasted approximately 30 minutes, and then they left. She continued violating city traffic laws while driving, and was eventually pulled over by a sergeant in the Santa Fe Police Department. She was issued traffic citations for the violations which he observed. So, I don't know about you, but the fact that she's trying to lose police is a red flag for me. I just don't understand it. 2 makeshift graves were found. They were not found to contain Robbie's remains. One was discovered to be an animal, and the other was not identified in the report. Because a witness stated that Ronnie was asking questions about trash pickup, police decided to search local landfills for Robbie. And on July 13th, 2000, police proceeded to the Santa Fe County landfill. They had an entire search team with them, which consisted of Santa Fe Police, Santa Fe Fire, Hazmat, and Los Alamos National Labs hazmat officials. The search in the landfill was being conducted because of the leads that kept coming in saying that Robbie was in the landfill. There was a backhoe digging in the area, believed to be the dump site from when Robbie Romero had been reported missing. During the process, police discovered the remains of a dog. It looked like the dog had been there for a while. The dog was wrapped in a plastic bag and was in stages of late decomposition. Eventually, the search was halted due to a lightning storm. Here's a quote from one of the officers that was at the dig site. On July 14th, at about 7 a.m., I arrived at the Caja del Rio landfill and made contact with Sergeant Stanley Mascarenas, who advised that he had information that the boy Robbie Romero had been possibly thrown in a garbage bag and that he needed us to go through the garbage as some tractors moved it around. I was asked to make a list of people at the scene, and I did so. We were looking for a black plastic bag containing a possible body, and during the search we located about 5 dogs in black bags. Crime tech Larry Renner took photos of the scene and remained at the scene until 1200 hours. A patrol officer secured the scene. Also on July 16th, Ronnie Romero decided to call the police department. He stated that his girlfriend confessed to him about his brother Robbie. Ronnie told the police that his girlfriend just confessed to him that she had accidentally ran over Robbie while on her way to his house the night he was reported missing. She told him that Robbie had crossed the street in front of her vehicle and that she was not able to stop in time. She said that he fell down on the street and she freaked out, so she put him in her car and then decided to dump him in a dumpster. Police asked Ronnie if he wanted to speak with a police officer. He said yes, but he did not want his girlfriend to wake up and said that he would meet with them outside. So at about 5 a.m., Sergeant Stan Mascarenas and Detectives Brian Gonzalez and Martin Lopez came out to Ronnie's residence, along with Detective Mary Garcia. Ronnie met them outside, and he started to tell them the story about how his girlfriend admitted that she hit Robbie with her vehicle and threw him in a dumpster. Sergeant Johnson asked him if he wanted to have his attorney present or if he wanted to call him first and talk to him before speaking with them. Ronnie stated that he did not want to speak with his attorney and that he wanted to talk with the police without his attorney present. He waived his rights, and Ronnie proceeded to say that he had waited for his girlfriend to go to sleep before calling them. Ronnie said that his girlfriend was asleep in his bedroom and that she confessed to him about his brother and told him the police already suspected him and that it would be his word against hers. She told him that she was on her way to his house between 6:15 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. on June 7th. She said that she drove west on Bellama Drive when Robbie suddenly crossed the street in front of her car and she accidentally hit him with her vehicle. She said there was no blood, but that Robbie had laid in front of her car, not moving. She freaked out, picked him up, and drove around with him for a while, not knowing what to do. Ronnie said that she then took him and dumped him in a dumpster, but that she did not tell him which dumpster she used. Ronnie said that both he and had been fighting throughout the evening. He said that he kept asking her why she wouldn't take the polygraph, which was when finally confessed to him and added that it would be her word against his. So police went inside the home to talk. Ronnie walked them through the house, and Sergeant Johnson made contact with her. The other police officers stayed with Ronnie. When Sergeant Johnson woke up and explained why they were there, she was shocked to hear what Ronnie was accusing her of. She denied having anything to do with Robbie's death or disappearance, and she denied confessing any of this to Ronnie. She also called him a psycho. She was told that she would have to go to the police station to answer questions, and she was given her Miranda rights. She was also told that they would be taking her vehicle for processing for any evidence. They had a vehicle consent form signed by her, and they authorized the crime technician to process the vehicle. While at the police department, agreed to a polygraph, but did not successfully pass the polygraph. Ronnie's attorney did not allow us to polygraph Ronnie. Asked for an attorney after submitting the polygraph and was released at that time without any further questions. Her vehicle was released to her after it was processed, and Ronnie was also free to go. I'm going to read to you from the supplement that was filled out by the forensic investigator who was processing Ronnie's girlfriend's car. On July 16th at approximately 6 a.m., I received a request to assist Detective Sergeant Gary Johnson with the collection and processing of a vehicle at the Romero residence. Upon my arrival, I was met by Sergeants Gary Johnson and Stan Mascarenas and 3 uniformed officers. The vehicle in question, a 1991 red Toyota Corolla with New Mexico license plates, was reportedly the vehicle driven by Ronnie's girlfriend. The vehicle was photographed and sealed, including plastic bag seals to 2 open windows, and was then transported via flatbed to Substation 4 pending further examinations. At approximately 1100 hours, on the same date, I met with Detective Bill Bryant and we proceeded to Substation 4, where the vehicle was again photographed, searched, and trace lift processed with the collection of the above listed items. Upon our arrival, we were met by registered owner of the vehicle who observed the processing of the vehicle. At the time of our arrival, a black leather-like love seat was also present at Substation 4. The item had been reportedly collected from the Romero residence and was delivered for luminol processing later this date. The vehicle was resealed pending additional examinations. On July 16th at approximately 9 p.m., I met at Substation 4 with Detective Brian Gonzalez to luminol process the vehicle and love seat. Also in attendance was the vehicle owner. Sergeant Tom Wiggins was also called to the substation to assist with the blackout material and the luminol processing. The vehicle was processed on both the passenger compartment and the trunk, and the love seat was processed as well. No positive presumptive bloodstains were produced via luminol processing on either the vehicle or the love seat. The vehicle was returned to the vehicle owner. The love seat was returned the next day to the Romero residence. The film and items collected will be submitted to evidence. No further action will be taken on this case at this time, end quote. Okay, now we have an alleged confession from Ronnie's girlfriend. We have a failed polygraph from Ronnie's girlfriend. Her vehicle was taken into evidence. However, there was no indication of blood. But if you remember, according to Ronnie, when his girlfriend hit Robbie with her car, he was not bleeding. There was also no blood on the love seat that Robbie was sleeping on prior to his disappearance. Let's take a quick break.
The holiday market from Rail Yards Market and Downtown Growers Market is virtual and open for shopping through December 10th. The online shop features 100 plus local farmers, food producers, artisans, and wellness vendors. Keep it local this holiday season and support small New Mexico businesses. Shop all vendor producers in one cart with one payment. It's safe, quick, and convenient. SNAP and PEBT is accepted, and the Double Up Food Bucks program offers half-off produce for SNAP and PEBT card holders. Pick up your orders curbside, drive-through at the Rail Yards Sunday, December 13th from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. To shop and for details, head to railyardsmarket.org or downtowngrowers.org.
And we're back. So on June 20th, police received a phone call that Rudy Romero Sr. was very upset all day over the disappearance of his son. And according to the police report, he had been drinking heavily and was acting suicidal. Mr. Romero had said several times that he wanted to kill himself that day, as well as Ronnie, who was his oldest son. So police showed up at the residence. They made contact with the Romero family. And when they found Mr. Romero, he was highly intoxicated and extremely agitated. He told police that he wanted to kill himself. He also seemed to be very depressed. And according to Evelyn Romero, Rudy had not been able to sleep for several days and had been drinking heavily. So police told Mr. Romero that he was to be taken to the hospital for an evaluation due to his condition and because he was threatening to harm himself. Police noted that Mr. Romero posed an immediate threat to himself and other family members if he was not treated for his mental health issues. Once police brought this up, Rudy Romero Sr. got very uncooperative and started resisting being taken to the hospital. So, police had to use force to take him into custody. He was then taken to the hospital, he was evaluated, and was receiving treatment for his mental health. After being evaluated by the doctor, as well as crisis counselors, he was admitted to the hospital for treatment. And while all of this is happening, police were also responding to the tip, the smell of decomposition, which was coming strongly from a storage facility. Police went to the AAA self-storage units on Pacheco Street to see if they could figure out what the smell was and where it was coming from. The tip came in from a nearby funeral home which noted the smell when they opened a storage unit that they had rented. They said it was so strong and so similar to that of a decomposing body that they felt they had to call police. So police searched the area. They searched the rooftop. They looked inside the units. They didn't find anything dead or decomposing. A few of the units were opened and the odor was noticeable, but eventually it just went away as soon as the doors were open. Police took photographs, and they also noted that there was a man living inside of one of the units, and it was full with just tons of items, as well as several cats. However, the police did not notice that it smelled like decomposition when they opened that specific unit. And also, cadaver dogs did not really respond at all to anything in the area. And then on July 25th, police had another run-in with Rudy Romero Sr. Rudy had been picked up by police because people had called in saying that there was a man jumping in front of cars. And sure enough, it was Mr. Romero. Mr. Romero was taken back to the hospital, and at the hospital, Mr. Romero told police that his friends told him everything that happened to Robbie. Mr. Romero had to be restrained because he was very intoxicated and extremely upset. When the police arrived, he asked why they were there. They told him that they were just checking on him to make sure he was okay. He said that the police department were a bunch of fuckers and they were playing games with him. Police responded that their only goal was to figure out where Robbie was. Mr. Romero said that he wanted to take the restraints off so that he could fight the police. He was told again that they were only there to help him and his family. He then told police, quote, "There's things I know that you don't," end quote. Police asked him what he was talking about. He just said, "I don't know." Police then told Mr. Romero that they had heard Ronnie told him what actually happened to Robbie. They asked him if that was true. He then said, "If you just let go of my hands, I'll kick your ass." Police asked Rudy Romero if he knew where Robbie was, but he refused to answer. And then at one point he started yelling, quote, "I know where my son is." But he didn't give any information to where Robbie was. He also said that his wife knows as well. And then he changed his story again and said that he did not know. He also made claims that he had received a phone call stating that Robbie was coming from Los Angeles to Colorado. It doesn't make any sense. And then another tip came in. A woman who claimed to be a cousin, but turned out to just be a close family friend of the Romero family, had said that she had learned that Ronnie's girlfriend had accidentally hit Robbie with her car. Here's an excerpt from that interview that police conducted with the cousin. On July 26th, 2000, I made contact with at her place of work. I advised her that I needed to interview her regarding the Robert Romero case. She stated that she is a friend of the Romero family and has visited them frequently since the disappearance of Robbie. She said that she knows Ronnie and his family pretty well. She also said that she heard they thought it was Ronnie's girlfriend and that she accidentally hit him with their car. But denied it. And also heard this from her grandmother. She didn't know how her grandmother obtained the information, but she said that her grandmother lived next door to the Romeros, and she believes that they may have heard it from the family. On July 31st, Ronnie was in a vehicle that was pulled over for a traffic violation. Ronnie was allowed to leave the scene since he was only a passenger, until police noted that he had an open container of Budweiser in the car, which is illegal in New Mexico. Police then caught up with him again, and here's what happened. Quote, "While finishing up a citation for open container, Mr. Ronnie Romero told me to make sure I told Sergeant Johnson that he knows how to run a backhoe. As I started to enter my car, he reiterated to make sure I told Sergeant Johnson that he knows how to run a backhoe." End quote. Then police started to look even closer at the Romero family. They looked at their phone records from the day of Robbie's disappearance as well as days after, and they followed up with many of the phone numbers that were called during that time period, although not much was gained from this activity. On August 10th, 2000, a man reported seeing some bones in a shallow grave while walking his dogs just yards from his home. Police arrived at the scene and they found the bones. They were examined and it was determined that the bones were not of human origin but were in fact an animal. The bones consisted of a vertebrae column and a pelvis. The scene was photographed and the film was submitted to evidence, but no other action was taken. On August 28th, a woman contacted the police and said that she spoke with her niece, and during the conversation, she said that one of the Romero family members told her that Ronnie punches the kids all the time. On August 24th, 911 received an emergency call in which a caller was reporting that a domestic dispute was occurring between Ronnie and his little sister. Police responded and documented the incident. On the same day, another woman called 911 because she claimed that Ronnie's sister had called her home twice asking for her daughter. When she asked what was wrong, Ronnie's little sister said, quote, "My brother, the one who killed my baby brother, is going to kill me like he killed my brother." At that point, the woman called 911 and reported it. When police arrived at the Romero household, everyone denied that anything was happening, and Evelyn took her daughter and drove away. On August 29th, police spoke with a jail informant about a lead in the case. Here's a quote. Mr. stated that he was in the same pod at the jail with a male by the name of Mr. went on to say that told him that his roommate, who he identified as Mike, was involved in the disappearance of Robbie Romero. According to Mr. Mike rides his bike on the walking path near the Romero residence almost daily, and he matched the description of the suspicious male on the bike that was reported early on in the investigation. Mr. Swanson stated that Jim did not give him specifics on what he knew about Mike's involvement, although he appeared to be extremely nervous about it, and when he was talking about it, stated that he feels that either witnessed something or has more information as to what happened. He also stated that he asked him why he did not go to the police with this information, and Jim apparently told Mr. Swanson that he was afraid because he had been poisoned recently. Mr. Swanson stated that Jim told him that he felt Mike was the one who poisoned him to keep him quiet because he knew that Mike was involved with the Romero case. And also stated that Jim told him they were living in the immediate area at the time of Romero's disappearance. A local check was done on the two men in question. The information was then forwarded to Detective Sandra Gomez for further follow-up. It was also learned that FBI agent Kangas has already dealt with these two in an unrelated case. No further information was obtained at this time. Detective Gonzalez and I attempted to locate Mike at his last known address, although no one was home at the time. End quote. And then even more people started coming forward claiming that Ronnie's girlfriend ran over Robbie. Police then decided to go back and re-interview Ricky Romero, and he backtracked on all of his original statements. He now said that he lied to the police. He never saw Robbie except for when he walked into the living room and noticed him sleeping on the sofa. He also said that he didn't see Robbie after that. He told police that he changed his story because the police didn't like the answers he was giving them. And then guess what happened? Another psychic came forward. Quote, "I received a phone message from concerning her sister having a vision on Robbie Romero's investigation. She stated the told her Robbie's body would be located near the vacant area near the Via Linda Mall. Further said is psychic and has experienced visions of Robbie being buried at this location since he was missing. End quote. Police sent dive teams to 5 reservoirs to search for Robbie. None of these turned up any new information, nor did they find any bodies. An informant came forward to claim that a known gang member killed Robbie and put his dismembered body in the trunk of a blue Honda Civic. He claimed that Ronnie owed the gang member $40,000, and that is why Robbie was killed. He also said that Ronnie never showed any concern for Robbie or even attempted to look for him. On October 4th, 2000, police went to the landfill again to look for Robbie Romero's remains. They started on the southwest corner of the landfill and they found a Pokemon tennis shoe. Apparently, Robbie was wearing a pair of Pokemon shoes during his disappearance. The shoe was photographed and collected and taken to the lab for DNA analysis at a later date and time. No further information about the analysis was provided. And then 2 more psychics came forward. But I'm not going to share what they said, because really, it's pointless in my opinion. Then, in January 2001, police in California found human remains that belonged to a small child. When Santa Fe police heard about this, they reached out to the agency in California and were told that basically there were human remains found in the area of Los Gatos in Santa Clara, California. A human skull was found by a road worker who had actually stopped and pulled over to remove a rock from the roadway. And when he looked closer, he realized it was a human skull. The skull was turned over to the sheriff's department. According to investigators from the Santa Clara County Coroner's Office, the skull belonged to a child who was between the ages of 5 and 6, and the time of death was approximated at no more than 6 months. Detectives in the Santa Clara Sheriff's Office told Santa Fe Police Department detectives that they felt it was likely that the body was that of a child who was missing, and it was a case that was currently being investigated by the Santa Clara Sheriff's Department. The detective also told Santa Fe Police that they have a suspect who is admitted to the homicide of the child. However, the person's whereabouts is unknown. Santa Clara Sheriff's Office told Santa Fe Police that they were going to conduct a DNA analysis on the remains and that they would let Santa Fe Police know if they had any further developments. The FBI was also following up on both cases just to make sure. On January 24, 2001, police spoke with Evelyn by phone. She accused the police department of harassing Ronnie and claimed that they had no evidence on him. She felt that the police were wasting time looking into Ronnie and not looking for who was actually responsible for Robbie's disappearance. So this next part is a little bit intense. On February 13th, 2001, a woman ran out into the road in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She jumped into a vehicle that was stopped at a stoplight. She was frantically crying and claiming that she had been raped. The driver of the vehicle called the police. When the police arrived, the woman disclosed who attacked her, and she said that her attackers would make her disappear like Robbie Romero. It's important to note that Ronnie was not accused of this rape or of any involvement with it, but there were several people who knew Ronnie that were accused of this rape. So here's what the interaction with the police was like when the woman described what Ronnie told her about Robbie while they were drinking together at Applebee's. Quote, he told her that he put lime on Robbie's body and that the police would never find him. She continued to tell police that Ronnie told her that he and his girlfriend had gotten into an argument at or near the Romero residence and that his girlfriend backed up over Robbie in her car and killed him. Ronnie and his girlfriend then hid the body so that she wouldn't get in trouble. The woman said that he was very nervous while telling her this. She went on to say that after Robbie was killed, they wrapped his body in plastic, duct tape, as well as a pink and blue or pink and yellow blanket. After this, she said that Ronnie and his girlfriend waited about 14 hours and then went to dump the body. The woman told us she didn't know the name of the location but thought it was a person's last name in southern New Mexico. Maybe near Carlsbad. She said she may recognize the name of the town if I got her a map. So a lieutenant showed up, spoke with her, and showed her a map. She pointed to a desolate area near Highway 285 south of Santa Fe. She said the area was familiar to her because a couple of years ago a woman was raped and murdered there. she came up with the name Roosevelt. Roosevelt County was the area that she was pointing to on the map. She said Ronnie told her they buried Robbie near a stand of trees near a creek and put lime on the body. She said that she knows Robbie Romero's mom knows something about it, but not everything, and that the dad doesn't know what happened. She also said she was too scared to ask any more questions of Ronnie. She mentioned that her rapist either had or was talking about getting a Pokemon or Pikachu tattoo on his butt. It's important to know that the person accused of raping this woman is allegedly the same person that Ronnie owed $40,000 to, according to police records. Then in April, police found a blue Honda, which is the same vehicle that they were looking for. They found it at the Anaya Record Yard on Industrial Road. It was a 1982 light blue Honda Accord with New Mexico license plate. So detectives went to the wrecking yard and started to process the vehicle for evidence. It was photographed. The trunk was examined for presence of suspicious stains. Various carpet stains were identified, which were not consistent with oil stains. The stains were tested for presumptive presence of blood, along with a red-brown stain on the posterior wall below the lock mechanism. Both of those areas tested negative for the presence of blood. The vehicle was then closed up. Evidence seals were attached. The police then returned to the vehicle sometime later, looked at the passenger compartment, driver's and passenger seat areas, looking for suspicious stains. No obvious blood stains were detected. It looks like the stains were more related to food rather than blood. Police submitted the photographs to evidence and no further action was taken. So this is where the police file ends. At least what was given to me. There may have been pieces left out. In fact, I'm pretty sure there are many missing reports. Just based on the lawsuit that Evelyn Romero filed against the police and requested the police documents, it was mentioned in that case that there were thousands of pages of documents. The file that I received only had 256 pages. So I think there's plenty more information that was being withheld and continues to be withheld to this day. But it seems that in 2001, the case went cold and there was very little movement on it. And then in June 2002, the Romero family sued the Santa Fe Police Department, alleging that they mishandled the case, which could have resulted in Robbie losing his life. The family also requested that the police turn over the investigative file, and the judge ruled in favor of the family in 2003. In August 2002, the police supervisor that was handling the case was fired from the police department. And in 2005, Ronnie failed a third polygraph exam. In January 2006, Ronnie told police that he knew where Robbie's body was, and he said that his body was 60 feet below ground. Ronnie was eventually arrested for an unrelated incident where he had stabbed a nurse with a needle, and then he was arrested several times after that again. And during one of the final arrests, he agreed to tell police where his brother's body was located in exchange for a plea deal, but that never happened. Because in September 2008, Ronnie Romero died in jail of a suspected drug overdose. Then things took a very strange turn. In 2011, a teenage boy came forward claiming to be Robbie Romero. His name was Robert Teresas. He told police that he didn't remember his childhood, but had always been called Robbie Romero, and that led him to believe that he was, in fact, Robbie Romero. Teresas' mother adamantly denied this and stated that her son was born in Mexico and was called Robbie Romero because he resembled him. But she said he was not the same boy. DNA testing was conducted and it was proven that he was not Robbie Romero. Robbie has never been found. To this day, he remains missing. If you or anyone you know has information related to the disappearance of Robert Marcos Romero, please call the New Mexico Department of Public Safety at 1-800-457-3463 or email dps.missingperson@state.nm.us. Thanks for listening and stay safe, New Mexico. Thanks for listening to True Consequences. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at True Consequences Pod and on Twitter at TrueConsPod. True Consequences is listener supported. If you'd like to support this one-man show, please go to patreon.com patreon.com/trueconsequences. Thanks for listening, and stay safe, New Mexico.